editing any of this out.
Right now, in this country, a conservative majority Supreme Court is stripping away power from black people to serve in Congress.
You're saying black people represent me. It ain't about race. It's about whether a person can represent the constituency or not.
It's a mind. It's a consistent mind fuck that Republicans try to take us on.
We had a black president that did nothing for black people.
You are a black man, and you're saying they as if you're not a part of the community. Do you realize that?
When I say they, I'm talking about them black folks that's voting for Democrats, you know, with no demand of anything in return.
What the hell is wrong with looking at yourself as black first before you anything else?
All black people ain't the same. But when I say I'm black, what does that mean? The color of my skin?
Can I interject right there?
No. I got to tell you guys about Verdict Bourbon. You know, it's a bourbon that's smooth, it's full of character, absolutely incredible. We've had people try it, review it, and the feedback has been incredibly amazing. So if you go with Not Guilty, you have the smooth sweetness that people love, and Guilty brings the bold, classic bourbon character. So all you got to do is go to verdictbourbon.com, and you got to plead your age, face the verdict, and find out if you're guilty or not guilty. You must be 21 and over, and make sure you drink responsibly. Don't be a dummy.
When you listen to what Officer Tatum has to say, you know, to cliff note it from a generic perspective, he's talking about placing faith in a president that is Donald Trump, who he considers to be far better than anything the liberals have offered in recent memory. Because ultimately it harkens back. Every time I run across independents or conservatives, they're looking at what the Democratic Party hasn't done for the black community, and they're asking the question, why should the community's faith be placed in that party? Why not try something new, even if it is Donald Trump? To that, you explain what?
Number one, I would say that I want to address that he brought up that Iran can't handle us. The retaliation from Iran is economic retaliation. They are forcing the American people to have an economic pressure right now that may cost Donald Trump the midterm elections. That's
you talking about the Strait of Hormuz? You talking about the Strait of Hormuz?
Closing the strait and costing the American people money every single day that strait is closed. That's number one. Okay. Number two, when you talk about Democrats versus conservatives. Right now, in this country, a conservative majority Supreme Court is stripping away power from black people to serve in Congress. Now, he can shake his head at that, but why does that matter? Because as somebody black in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where Louisiana elected the first black person to Congress in the history of this country, Willis Menard in the 1800s, Willis Menard was denied the ability to serve in Congress because a person who was from Congress who later became president said that it was not time for a black man to serve in Congress. You follow that up and you go 100 years later before William Jefferson is elected to Congress in the late 1980s. William Jefferson, Cleo Fields, Cedric Richmond, Troy Carter, 4 people in the history of this country that are black have served in Congress from the state of Louisiana. In that same time, 170 plus white men have gone to Congress from Louisiana in the same period of time. But you're sitting here telling me that this is a fair system to black people. And the people who are orchestrating taking away that power from black people is Donald Trump and his Supreme Court. And as a black person who lives in one of the impacted communities, this is the first time in my lifetime since I was 6 that a black person represented me in Congress from all of Baton Rouge. What does that mean? It means that Southern University, the only HBCU system in America, is finally getting financial appropriations from the federal government to improve the campus of Southern University so that young black children can be educated up on that campus. When Garrett Graves was there, he wasn't sending any money to Southern University, but Cleo Fields surely is. And that matters to black people who are from Baton Rouge, who live in North Baton Rouge, where that is an anchor within our community economically.
So he's in an affected community, but his daughter goes to a prominent school that's doing very, very well. She's doing great, and it's run by white people. Now let's go to the point where you let's go to the point where you make this point about.
Hold on, officer. Gary, what's not true about what he just said?
The school system is ran by a black man, that is Lamont Cole. And the school that my daughter attends is a magnet school in the public school system because my family decided to put my daughter in early childhood education, and we had the resources in order to provide for her. My daughter goes to one of the best schools in East Baton Rouge Parish school system. Now, I'm not talking about the majority of the school system, and the original point that I made was about Louisiana's public schools ranking
Okay.
number 47 in the country.
All right. Let's okay. Let me
So
get
go
this.
ahead.
But
Go ahead,
this,
officer. Now go ahead. Go ahead.
you just proved my point, my man. A black man run this school and is very successful, and a black family has an opportunity to put their black daughter in a very prominent and successful school in Louisiana. So the white man don't have no power over what you can accomplish if you guys put your stuff together, get your stuff together, and do the right thing. Now let's get to this whole thing about race. You're saying black people represent me. It ain't about race. It's about whether a person can represent the constituency or not. Are they effective or are they not? Because it doesn't matter about the color of somebody's skin, because we had a black president that did nothing for black people. He did nothing. Donald Trump did more for black people than Barack Obama could ever dream of. When you talk about loan guarantee, or not loan guarantees, when you talk about money that has been guaranteed given to HBCUs, Donald Trump secured that, and Obama could never secure that. When you talk about opportunity zones, when you talk about the First Step Act, that's legislation that was passed under President Donald Trump that Barack Obama would never in his life dream of doing. You cannot name one thing that Barack Obama has done. You cannot name one thing that a black politician who's a Democrat has done to help the black people in your community or communities across the United States of America. You can't name one. And then let me say this. You keep saying that somehow the white man is making sure black people are not serving in Congress. There's a ton of black Democrats that are serving in Congress. There's a ton of them. I mean,
They're attempting to take their seats.
You said, excuse me?
And they're attempting to take their seats.
Attempting to take their seats through what?
The Supreme Court gerrymandering their seats away.
That's where I was going next with the whole redistricting, with the whole redistricting and gerrymandering issue. That's exactly where I was going next. Go ahead, Officer Tatum.
This is where the gentleman, Mr. Chambers, you're wrong. In many of these cases, the reason that the redistricting did not work out, especially in Louisiana and other places, because they were doing it based on race, and that is not constitutional. And so if you're going to say you need to redistrict because black people need a benefit or black people should be represented, white people can't do that either. So that is the reason why some of the redistricting and lines being drawn was denied by the Supreme Court, is because they did it based on race. This is what black people have been fighting for so many years, is that you cannot make those decisions based on race. And when they try to make them based on race, they were denied in the Supreme Court.
Considering everything that you just highlighted and everything that you just said, Gary, how would you explain the fact that Trump gained black voters in the last election?
I think that the Democrats do a terrible job talking to black people. I think that the Democrats do a terrible job talking about the issues that are important to black people. I think that though the Democrats have a better economic plan for making the economy work, the data proves, even when you brought up the war, who put us in the forever war? George Bush put us into the 20-year war that we ended up in that cost America billions of dollars on end. Republicans put us in economic peril and Democrats dig us out. When Barack Obama took office in 2008, the economy was in the trash can. When he left office in the end of 2016, he gave Donald Trump a prospering economy that he ran into the trash can. Joe Biden pulls it up a little bit. Donald Trump runs it back into the trash can. And Joseph here sits there and tells us that that's the solution for the American people.
But Gary, how can you say, like, for example, Biden ran it back into the trash can when it wasn't just him, it wasn't just Obama, it was Trump too, and I get it, George W. Bush as well. We got a $39 trillion debt. Every administration has contributed to that. These cats spend money. They're not saving. They're not cutting. They're not investing.
Who started the war, though, that contributed to the debt and sending us way into the left field? Conservatives. When Bill Clinton left office, the debt was going down. He was taking the debt down under Bill
surplus.
Clinton. George Bush comes in, and we haven't come back yet. So we have to, one of the things that I hate about the way we do politics, let me slow down. One of the things I hate about the way we do politics is we act like we can't remember what the cause of a thing is. We talk about all of the symptoms, all of the things that happen after that, but how did we get here? And if we deal with the very beginning of a thing, we can begin to fix it. When you talk about this gerrymandering thing, Stephen, to button that up, I'm from the city where the men who filed the lawsuit are from. I know some of the people who filed this lawsuit. I know they're racist. I don't have to ask anybody, are some of these people racist individuals? I've sat at lunch with these individuals. I know that they don't support Black candidates when they run for office in this community. I know very well that some of these individuals mean well in their heart on certain things. But when you get to talking about race, they cannot see past certain issues because they feel like in some way we are taking something from them when the reality is we have never had this.
All right.
Let me
Officer
jump
Tatum,
in
go
here
ahead.
real quick.
Go ahead.
There's a real big issue with liberal-minded Black people in this country because they want to be overly reliant on the government. That's the biggest problem. And so they think the government is their daddy. They think the government gonna fix everything, and that is a huge problem. Democrats have done nothing, as the gentleman has explained. They've absolutely done nothing. There's so many things I want to touch on. Barack Obama, he said, I agree with him on this point. Let's agree on this, that every president has run us into debt. And you can't forget that 9/11 happened, that ran us into debt. George Bush got us in the war, but the rest of the presidents kept us in the war. Barack Obama didn't pull us out of the war. Many of these other presidents that preceded him could have got us out of the war, but they didn't. Do you not remember when Barack Obama gave pallets of money in the middle of the night to Iran? I mean, so we cannot act like Donald Trump is the only one that's getting us in some war that's
But
catastrophic.
it wasn't just giving them money. It was basically pulling the constraints off of money that the United States government actually owed Iran at that time.
In the middle of the night, they gave him money.
I know that, but I'm talking about what the cause, what the reason for it was. It was actually their money, as opposed to us giving them the money.
Right,
Is all I'm saying.
and there ain't no way in the world we should be giving a terrorist money. And the way in which he did it was secretive because he did it in the middle of the night with pallets of money. So he contributed to Iran's proliferation of hatred and terrorism, which then had led to us to actually have to do something about it right now. But I want to get to this racism thing. I know Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is not a racist. Jeff Landry. I know Jeff Landry. He invited me to go gator hunting with him before he was governor. Jeff Landry is not a racist. The problem is, man, you can disagree with their policies and say that they're a bad politician. Well, then go and get a better politician. But to continue to act like these people are racist, Donald Trump is racist. I know Donald Trump. I've met Donald Trump several times. These people are not racist. And when you guys say racism, 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 you cheapen what real racism is, and you're not getting to the core crux of what's going on. If you don't like the policy position, just say you don't like the policy position. I don't like any politician that's getting us into debt. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. But at the end of the day, when you look at leftist, liberal, Democrat policies, they destroy this country more than any other political party. Let me just give you an example. And this is what they're doing to destroy Black people. Letting all these illegal aliens into this country, unvetted, unfettered. They come in here by the tens of millions. And now what does that do for Black people? Those jobs, low income or the startup jobs, entry-level jobs, the labor jobs, all these illegals are taking those jobs from Black folks. When you talk about government assistance, Black people who actually need it. When you talk about resources that can be given to these inner city schools, resources that can be given to Black people and building their community, where are they going? To illegal aliens. All of these things that the Democrats are doing, what else are they pushing? They pushing transgenderism. They pushing all kind of stuff, and none of it had anything to do with Black folks. Reparations. We had a Black president. Why didn't he mention reparations one time while he was the president? Not one time did Barack Obama mention reparations or say he was going to give reparations or did anything about reparations. It's just a pony show, man. I feel like the Republicans actually have a mission and a plan for everybody in America, and it's just not Black people. Because just because your skin color is Black, in my opinion, in America, it doesn't mean anything. It's who are you as a person? What do you want to see this country do? That means more than your race.
Gary,
the reason these conversations frustrate those of us who really do this work is what Officer Tatum did was a bunch of dog wagging the tail or chasing the car. I gave very specific examples of how Cleo Fields, as a congressman, brought investment into my community as a Democrat, as a Black Democrat. I said that multiple times. I talked about how Garrett Graves was in Congress representing me for over a decade and did not bring investment into my community. I'm not talking about what's happening in Iran. I'm talking about what's happening in East Baton Rouge Parish. I'm telling you that if gas costs more money today, and he's talking about transgenders. I'm telling you that people's energy bills and hospitals are closing, and that the people that I support have a plan for that. And he's telling you about something happening somewhere else. Can I cuss, Stephen?
Yes, you can.
It's a mind fuck. It's a consistent mind fuck that Republicans try to take us on by talking about things that they know rile up all of these moral issues with a bunch of immoral leaders. So if Donald Trump cares about working class people, right? If he really cares about the people who work at McDonald's, get Mike Johnson, get the president of the Senate to raise the minimum wage. Now he's going to say raising the wages of American people doesn't matter. Well, you're spending their damn tax dollars to bomb the Iranian people. You're spending their damn tax dollars to go kidnap the president of Argentina. You're spending their, is it Argentina or is it
Venezuela? Venezuela.
Okay, Venezuela. You're sending people to Argentina to lock them up. You're spending my tax dollars to do everything. You're sending my governor of the 50th ranked state to Greenland, but you can't fix my potholes. You can't get me a new bridge. You can't get me a community center in the community. Don't tell me nothing about no opportunity zone that you ain't got a community center in the gym in the neighborhood where the kids need the opportunity.
Can I jump in here? First of all, that's not done. That's local. You're mixing a lot of stuff. You said you weren't
federal
going to
money
talk about.
Comes to the local.
Let me say, you said you weren't going to talk about foreign stuff, and you throwing in foreign wars and all that. Your potholes are not Donald Trump's problem or no federal president's problem. That's a mismanagement of state funds. That's a state issue. Your schools and parks and your city is a city and state local issue.
Do they all get federal funding?
That has nothing to do. That has nothing to do with the president. If you want to make it primarily his fault.
But Officer Tatum, hold on. I'm gonna let you go on, Officer Tatum. Just answer that one question. Is he right? Do they all get federal funding? I believe that is the case. Do they not all get federal funding?
No, in part, not every single.
And they could get more federal funding if you were spending it on a war.
Let him go, Gary. Let him go.
Think about this. This is where he's convoluting things. If you're claiming that Landry is in the pocket or best friends with President Donald Trump, you would think that he would have all the federal funding that he needs, and therefore Louisiana has a lot of federal funding. So you shouldn't be complaining about it. But at the end of the day, that's not really the solution. There are federal funds that do go towards some things that matriculate down to local policy, but that's not the crux of it. It's poor spending by some of these states and cities are mismanaged. That's why you can't get your pothole fixed. That's not a president thing. And then let's talk about this country and let's talk about who has a solution and who doesn't. Democrats do not have a single solution for none of this stuff. They are doing racism. President Trump, I told you, opportunity zones was a federal thing that gave federal funding to underserved Black communities. Donald Trump ending or shutting down the border, not letting illegal aliens bombard our country, voting in our elections, taking resources and money from our government, which is hurting Black people and America as a whole. Also influxing people that come into this country that don't believe in American values, that do not want to assimilate. They are tearing our country apart. Those things have been solved by President Trump in the Republicans' message. The Democrats are not offering anything. This is why, like, for instance, I bet Mr. Chambers cannot argue why Kamala Harris would have been better than President Donald Trump. Why would she have been better? What did she actually run on? What was her actual message? That's why Black people didn't vote for her. That's why she lost in a landslide to President Trump, whom you say haven't done nothing for the country. He got another chance because he has a solution that none of these Democrats are pushing. And it's really, to me, it's not about Democrat, Republican. Democrats just happen to suck. I care about who is going to do what's right for this country. If a Republican will not do right and don't have a solution for this country, then I would never vote for him. I want to go to the minimum wage thing. Minimum wage is not just on the government. I have employees that are entry level in my company, and I do not pay them minimum wage. I pay them far beyond minimum wage. That's not just the president's issue. That's a local issue. That's a business issue as well. States have their own minimum wages. The federal minimum wage is a lot lower than Arizona state minimum wage. I think our minimum wage is like $12 an hour or $13 an hour. It just went up. That has nothing to do with the federal minimum wage. So you complaining about that, in my personal opinion, is not the solution to the problem. The government is not going to fix everything. And I think that we need to understand that. And then also, let's go to your quarrels about the government and all this. And what are Black communities doing to help themselves? Because Black people have been voting for one party. Let's not say it's Democrat. Let's just take the Democrat Republican out of it. They've been voting one way for 60 years and still complaining. So what does that mean? Every other year there's a Democrat in office. What does that mean? That means that you are not voting for your own best interest. That's why you still complaining.
Well, Officer Tatum, I would push back on you by saying this because I want to make sure that I'm fair to you as well. When you say they, you are a black man, and you're saying they as if you're not a part of the community. Do you realize that? And do you
I'm
realize
talking
how
about
that
the
sounds?
ones who voting for the
Okay,
Democrats.
okay,
They people like
okay.
Gary.
That's why I'm asking.
They
That's why
when
I'm
I
asking.
say they, I'm talking about them black folks that's
Okay.
voting for Democrats,
Mm.
you know, with no demand of anything in return.
Let's
I hate
Gotcha.
Republicans because they white, and so I'm gonna vote for these Democrats, and they
Gary,
ain't done nothing for black people.
that somehow, some way, how do you get to a point where if you can't come together, you can agree without being disagreeable? I'm not saying y'all were disagreeable or anything like that. I'm not going there. I'm just saying I think everybody needs to hear from people like both of y'all about educating yourself, edifying yourself, communicating with one another in a fashion where somehow, some way, this divide, this schism that exists doesn't have to be as glaring as society has proven it's been in recent memory, as some would say it's proven to be right now with the two of you talking. Is there any way that the gap can be closed where you can find you can imagine yourselves finding some level of common ground? I'm talking about politically speaking. I'm talking about in terms of your ideology, your thoughts.
I think 100%. If we love our country, we respect our country, we believe in the American dream, we believe in capitalism, and we can come together on that principle. And we believe in the founding, which the founding was a Christian nation that believe in God and all of those things. If we come together on those points, we can figure out and weave through some of our disagreements. But at the end of the day, man, you have to believe in the Constitution. You have to love this country. You don't have to like the entire history, but you got to have respect for where we came from and where we are today. If we can acknowledge that, I think the rest of it is history. We'll begin to come together. We'll begin to vote very similarly and not use these, political biases to distract us. Because I'm black. I grew up in a black community. I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas. I grew up in Stop Six, got Eastwood tattooed on my forearm, went to Dunbar High School, all black school, my whole family black. So I have a black experience in this country just like you do, Gary. And I honestly believe if we come to those agreements that I said, and we see it through that lens, I think we'll agree on and probably vote very similarly, on a broad perspective.
Gary, your thoughts?
Number one, I think healthy black folk debates get loud,
Yes,
bombastic, and all of that stuff.
totally,
That mean that
totally. Right.
it's venomous, right?
Yeah,
Black folk can cuss each other out and still be in love with each other 2 seconds
that's
later.
right.
I think these discussions are necessary because they iron sharpens iron. Number two, I think that I'm black first. Before I'm anything, I'm black. My mom and daddy, when they conceived me, the first thing they knew about me, before they knew I was going to be a boy, before they knew if I was going to be a girl, before they knew what sexual orientation and all the religion or any of those things, the first thing they knew about me, he going to be black. And because America has made decisions about black people from its inception, from the founding of this country, made determinations about black people, wrote laws about black people, denied black people their access to the ballot box, denied black people freedom, raped our women, stole us from other lands, and even once given us freedom, has made us fight for every inch of that freedom to maintain it, and continues to fight with us with that. I will not deny those facts, because those facts still permeate
So,
through laws and policies that exist in this country.
so are you saying, is that your way of saying, in order for conservatives and liberals, particularly those who happen to be black, to come closer together, there has to be an acknowledgement in your eyes on the other side that those things that you just pointed out are a reality that are inescapable before
If
you
we're
can come
talking
together?
about America before we talking about black people, we not on the same page. Because see,
That's the problem.
no, that is the problem. That you are more committed to America than to your own humanity.
What you mean my humanity, dude? I'm an American. You an American. Our
I'm a
ancestors were
human before I'm
American.
an American.
Yeah, you can
I'm one
say
of
you're a
God's
human, but you
children.
live,
I'm
you
one
live
of
in.
God's children before I'm American. And if you believe in
I
that, if
agree,
you believe in that Bible you
but
say you believe in, are you more God's child or more an American?
I'm more a God's child than American,
Or if
then
you're more
black.
God's
Let,
child
let,
than
let,
God,
let, let him
then
speak, Gary. Let him speak,
Being
Gary. Go
black,
ahead.
see, if people listen to this, they notice that Gary is living in the past, and I'm talking about us reuniting in the future. Everybody knows what slavery is all about. Now, Gary kind of misled when he said that they stole us off of these places. We were traded into slave trade, imprisoned and enslaved by other black people that then sold us around the world. So that point, we acknowledge that there are ills that happen in this country, and black people took the brunt of a lot of it. We weren't the only ones, but we took a brunt of a lot of it. This country has not always been great to black people. I acknowledge that. Can we understand that? But to act as if we're still living in this perpetual state of racism that has something to do with your everyday life, that we ain't never gonna be able to come together if you believe that, man. If you say you black first, that's crazy. That's like a white man saying, I'm white first.
They are.
Yeah, but they do
They
say
wrong then. They wrong then.
America is white first, man.
No, America is not white first.
America considered you property. You were
that's a long time ago, bro.
Sir, let me ask you something. This
Are
is
you
where you and I,
today?
this is where
Are you
the
considered property
disconnect
today?
comes from for us. When you say they traded black people, if you were traded, would you consider that you were stolen or traded? If it was you, if somebody took you right now and against your will and took you to another country, would you consider that you were traded or would you consider that you were stolen?
If somebody enslaved me
Yes.
and sold me to these white people,
Yes.
I would consider that I was traded by my own people.
Okay. So where you and I differ is a fundamental understanding that
there's no fundamental. This is historical fact. We were enslaved in Africa and sold through slave trade around the world. Majority of us went to South America.
We did.
United States of America that we know today.
If you would not consider yourself stolen, that's something wrong with your internal compass.
Stolen by who?
Whoever stole you. Whoever stole you to another country.
White people. By black and white people, I was
but
stolen.
I'm trying to figure out off to say what the hell is wrong with looking at yourself as black first before you're anything else, black before you're American, black before you're anything else. What's wrong with that?
Okay, because all black people ain't the same. And like for instance, we all different. So when I say I'm black, what does that mean? The color of my skin.
Can I interject right there?
No. Black people from New York is different than black people from the South. Black people from Africa that came over here as immigrants are very different than African Americans. We're all different. We're diverse like anybody else. When white people say I'm white first, what does that mean?
I would ask that. Forget. I don't want to forget white folks, but I'm like, forget. We're not talking about them at this particular moment. Let's stick with black people in this regard. When you talk about the slave trade, and you said we were enslaved and then traded all over the world. Who were those people? Black people.
Well,
I'm simply saying if you identify with that from an historical perspective, these are my ancestors. This is what we endured. This is where I come from. And that's what I identify with first, because to some degree, I'm still feeling some remnants of that even in today's society. I'm saying if you identify yourself as black before you identify yourself as American, what you're doing is saying, coming out of the womb, I'm going to be at a disadvantage because I'm in America and I'm going to have to scratch and claw and have an uphill climb. Now, that doesn't mean you give up. That doesn't mean you use it as a crutch. It doesn't mean that you sit up there and use that as a reason to be lackadaisical and have a defeatist attitude and don't work your way and maneuver your way through that terrain in order to get to that point. But it does mean you at least acknowledging that, there are historical, insidious acts that are associated with this particular nation that I live in. And as a result, I recognize the fact that I'm going to have to march forward and it's going to be a uphill climb for me to get to where I'm going. If somebody identifies that with blackness, you can do that.
But Stephen A., that's not always true that every black person have to suffer an uphill climb. That's not true. And we'll go back to like what I said. My ancestors came from Nigeria, so I know that, through my ancestry.com research that my people came over here as slaves. Not every black person in America came from slavery. It wasn't the case. Not every black person in America migrated here and was in the South. Some of them went to the North and were indentured servants and they never were slaves. Some black people came over here and became slave owners and were not slaves themselves. So it's a very dynamic differentiation between the experience of black people in its totality as existing in America. So me saying I'm black first before I'm an American, I think that's a misnomer. I think that's you're pigeonholing yourself, because if you are going to say I'm black, that means negative. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage, man. And I say I'm an American first because I believe in American values. My ancestors fought that I can be free in this country. All of our ancestors were not the same, didn't come from the same countries. didn't speak the same languages. We are a diverse people, and we don't need to be looking at a skin color, because I don't agree with a lot of stuff black people do. We ain't the same people. If you sagging your pants and gang banging and doing stuff that you're not supposed to, we ain't the same. If you doing the right thing and raising your kids and having a family and doing all that stuff, then we are more similar. I have more similarities with white people than I do with some black people. So I don't
Okay.
wake up out of the womb and like think about my kids. I'm in a blended family. I'm in a mixed family. Kids don't wake up every morning and be like, I'm black. No,
Gary,
what do you mean?